Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. Please forgive the big setup in the back. I was doing some really nice pictures in my photo box when I had the urge to start writing a script for a video that I just wanted to talk about. So as many of you know, last week Games Workshop had their big Warhammer Fest online event, and every single day a comment was repeated and flooded into their Twitch chat, and that was, "Are you going to address Cursed City?" As a bit of a hyper fast recap for those of you who have missed this like online drama in the Games Workshop-osphere, essentially, Cursed City was the newest addition to the Warhammer Quest series of games. So in Age of Sigmar, we've had Silver Tower, Shadows over Hammerhall, and then they went to Blackstone Fortress for 40k, and that was actually had a lot of supplements to it, and it was very well regarded as a game. And then they went back to Cursed City, and they did a whole bunch of stuff to promote it. They created a very immersive lore for the city that it's based around. They created a whole cast of awesome characters that I'm going to be reviewing throughout this week. They made a really great website that shows off the different aspects of exploring the city of Ulfenkarn. And then, to me and many hobbyists, they sent a advanced copy. So I got an advanced copy that I can start building and painting. So did other channels like Goobertown Hobbies, Rolling Ones, all those kinds of things. And we're all super excited. And then it kind of came out that, they sold out right away, which is not super weird. Production is a strange thing in our current era right now. But then it wasn't going back in stock. And so they were being really dodgy about it until at one point some Warhammer community team member just said very bluntly in a reply to somebody, Cursed City was a limited release. It is not coming back. That is when shit hit the proverbial fan, because now you had a whole bunch of people who really, really wanted it because they thought it was going to be like Blackstone Fortress. It was going to be around for a while, supported. Heck, Warhammer Quest Silver Tower actually had quite a bit of support after it, and that's at the height of nobody liking Age of Sigmar when that came out. Like, not only did it have the box set, but it had like hero editions and expansions afterwards. It actually had a mobile app at one point that they then destroyed, that was really helpful. So it wasn't crazy to think that there would be at least a little bit of support, and to have no communication like that really put a sour taste in people's mouths. So with the situation out of the way, I want to have some #real talk, realm talk, about Cursed City, what it means for our community, what I think GW needs to do. But here's the thing, it's not just about GW, it's about you, the hobbyist, as well. Because as much as GW fumbled, I'm in a lot of these Facebook groups and chat groups and Discords and all this kinds of stuff regarding Age of Sigmar. The reaction of the fan base is just as crummy as Games Workshop and what they did with it. So we'll tackle both of those things separately. So as far as Games Workshop goes, here's the deal. The company, I feel, in the last 3 years is going backwards. Here's what I mean by that. So if you're fairly new to the hobby, throughout most of, I'm going to say 2000s, maybe even up to the 2010s. 2010s I feel like was probably the height of it, where Games Workshop really isolated themselves, and in terms of social media, as far as taking feedback from people who love their properties, communicating when releases are going to happen. Like, you wouldn't know, you would just get a White Dwarf magazine that was like, hey, next month 4,000 points of units of, Empire are going to drop for fantasy battles. And it was really tough because they just wouldn't interact with their community base. And certainly they weren't keeping up in a modern corporate, especially international corporate business sense of using things like social media and YouTube and videos and that kind of stuff. And then things started to turn around a bit. They started the community page, which is fantastic, has wonderful articles. I'm just going to say this right now. Don't harass the community team. They are not the people who make these decisions. Putting that in the side, little pin in that. But also, they really started to open up about what was going on. We started seeing preview shows of things that were coming out in the next couple months, which is super new. They started the community polls. They did like an annual, instead of interview questions type thing of what you want from Warhammer, to the point where they even based an army off of it, the Sisters of Battle for 40k. This was, I think, the the new golden era of 40K, of Games Workshop. And I say for 40K because of the Sisters of Battle thing, but ultimately it was the whole company where they were taking feedback, discussing it with people. We created this cool calendar of like, hey, here's when you can expect FAQs, all this kinds of stuff. What made that period of time so incredible was that they were just communicating with us. When a business has a good communication and healthy relationship with their customers, literally everybody wins, right? I don't know. I don't see why anything ever changed, but changed it did. And part of me feels like I don't want to blame, the pandemic going on in the world. I do think that part of that, for a lot of businesses, they kind of pulled back everything that they were doing and got a little more hesitant on, how they were releasing information. They certainly didn't want to tell until the last minute that they were having so many manufacturing problems. The orders are backed up for over a month by some reports that I've gotten before they ever put out an article saying, hey, things are really backed up right now. But honestly, that's just kind of the start of it, because I feel like in terms of communicating with their audience, they are going backwards. They are not articulating what things are going to be limited edition, which is odd to me because scarcity is a great sales tactic. So if you upfront say, hey, everybody, Curse City is going to be a limited run, that's good. That's ultimately good. I mean, it drives desire for it. In addition to that, like they can't tell us what things are limited. They don't tell us not necessarily when things are going to come out, but what's on their horizon as far as like what's a priority for the company. We know at the height of their communication within the last few years, they were communicating everything to us. Hey, every 40K army is going to get a codex by the end of the year. That's not a promise of release dates or order of releases. It's just a vision of what they want for their game. We don't have that anymore. We don't know what to expect from product to product. We don't know what to expect, like what they are arcing for, kind of their course, if you were, for any of their intellectual properties. Everything's just kind of clammed up and they've stopped talking to us. For me, this is what I see as coming to a head when it comes to Curse City, to kind of pull it back into the main point, that they created a product that by their branding and their sales and their articles made it seem as if to us as a consumer, it was communicated to us, this is going to be a whole thing, right? Like Blackstone Fortress was a success. It had expansions. I think it had like 5 or something like that. It was crazy. And then if you go onto the online website with the map, there was a few places like you couldn't get the lore for, meaning they were probably going to release stuff later for it. Like there was all this buildup, but it was never communicated to us that this was limited, that that there was a scarcity, first of all. Second, the way that it was... So anyway, they didn't communicate that it was going to be a scarcity before the release, and then afterwards they let people be in a really intense limbo where they didn't know if they could get it until some random response on some random person's Facebook said, no, in fact, it's gone. It's not an official statement from the company per se. They didn't put an article out addressing it. They just replied to somebody, which is so different than a company saying, hey, everybody, we know you're excited. Let's find a way to compromise, right? And when I say compromise, I mean, put the frickin' rules up online as a PDF for free. You've lost nothing, and you'll sell a whole bunch of Soulblight Gravelord models. So there's that kind of stuff. There are ways to be intelligent about the situation and get out of it on Games Workshop's part, but they are choosing not to do that. For that, here's what I'll say. Games Workshop, get better about communication. Like, seriously, really think about how you interact with your customer base, knowing how... I'm going to say intensely excited they are about your properties. But here's what I want, okay? This is just Doug. This is one hobbyist. This is not like a rallying speech or anything like that. But I want clear communication. I want to know what your vision for the year is. For Age of Sigmar 3.0, maybe it could be as simple as, hey, we're going to release the edition, and then we're going to take a few months to make sure it's fine-tuned, answer any questions, FAQs, that kind of stuff. So by the end of the year, when Q1 starts in 2022, we're ready to start really hammering home out some battle tomes that match everything we've built. It's vague. There's no factions listed. There's no timeline outside of having half a year to fix what you just released, which I think is a pretty good grace period. And then also, on the other side of things, as far as their communication goes, when stuff comes out, use the term limited. Use that term. Tell us that this is a way to get something that we will no longer have access to afterwards. There were plenty of people that were going to wait for the next payday to get Cursed City. They were going to get it for a friend for their birthday or something like that. If they didn't know it was limited, they didn't have a chance to buy it. I remember at one point, and this happened actually twice, I think, to my memory, Games Workshop put out articles that said, hey, listen, the prices of paints and brushes are going up. And yeah, people complained, but when I looked through the responses on those things, the overwhelming majority of stuff was people saying, thank you for just telling me this and not just dropping it on me. You can say things that will make people unhappy, but do so in a way that makes them feel well-informed, which is a good feeling, right? You understand that, like, our hobby is changing. Hey, do I actually want to play this game, Cursed City? No, I'll pass on and let somebody else get it. And attached with that, with the whole, communicating what is limited and what is not, other stuff like dealing with scalpers, people who go buy multiple copies of a thing once it goes on pre-order, and then they sell out the parts of it. My personal opinion is if it's on pre-order, you should only be able to get one. That's just my opinion, but I don't manage an international marketing corporation, so I don't know the logistics of keeping track of what one account buys and limiting and stuff like that. So I'm not going to armchair quarterback that one. I don't know much about the scalping business market or something like that, but I will say that it needs to be addressed, right? If nothing else, at least as a company, acknowledge, hey guys, we're having a problem with this, and we're kind of working on a solution. Again, remember, this is the same company that dropped the Old World logo for their new game, The Old World, with no context for it whatsoever. So they're clearly okay with communicating vague information like, we're working on it 3 years in advance. So honestly, that's what I have to say about Games Workshop. The core issue is not Cursed City, it's communication. They've started going backwards in time to the detriment of their own shareholders. Their shareholders, their customers, and their employees, because these people get blasted online. Which brings me to my second point, which is addressing the Warhammer fans community about Cursed City. I'm going to make this very clear and under no confusion whatsoever. Don't harass Warhammer community article writers because they don't make a damn bit of decision making when it comes to what goes out and what doesn't. Do not harass other people who are trying to sell their copy of Cursed City, okay? Maybe they got it and they're like, well, I didn't really want this. Like, I didn't realize it was limited and that so many people would want it, so I'm not very attached to it. I'll go ahead and I'll sell it. Conversely, there are people who are perfectly innocent, who, now that it's a collector's item because it's limited, want to make a little bit of money because that's what they do. They trade and they buy and they sell games. There's a difference between someone who is a collector and trader and in that market, that secondary market of games that are in high demand. To me, there's a difference between that and a scalper, right? The scalper goes and pre-orders and then bursts the box into 1,000 pieces. The other person, it would be no different to me in my mind if they sold, I don't know, like an old copy of Shadespire or something like that, that first Warhammer Underworlds game where it's like, it's out of print. People want it. It was a great set. You know what I mean? Like, it's a collector's item versus a scalping. So if you're on an Age of Sigmar buy-sell trade group, whether it's on Reddit, Facebook, whatever, I don't care. Don't harass people who are just trying to sell stuff. I don't even care what the price is because collectors buy this crap at any price. The reason it's worth so much has nothing to do with them. It has to do with Games Workshop. So, like, channel that. We don't need to let Games Workshop and their bad business practice make us shitty to one another. Like, we're such a small niche, there's no reason for it. If Games Workshop isn't going to put out an article regarding Cursed City, maybe you don't need to blow up their chat on Twitch every single time, because at a certain point it stops being about Cursed City and more about the meme of we need to talk about blank. And that's a shame. You know what I mean? Like when people start building up that bad rapport and that discontent within their head as new hobbyists are coming in, you can throw some real shade at the company that they're trying to get excited about. And if that's where you're at, that's totally fine. You know what I mean? Like if you're really unhappy with Games Workshop and stuff, hey, let me introduce you to a wonderful company that does an incredible job at communicating with their fans and staff and stuff. It's Parabellum. They make Conquest: Last Argument of Kings that I have really fallen in love with. Let me introduce you to my new friend. But that's what I mean of like, if you're not going to be in it, if you're not invested and you're not willing to communicate in a way that actually promotes change by addressing their communication issues, by responding like an adult through email or to the Warhammer community team, they don't understand. Because if you start like nerd raging, they're just going to delete your comment and ignore you. If you talk like an adult, they will listen. And so really, this whole video is prompted by the fact that this morning, at the time of recording, I put out a video on Warhammer Quest Cursed City, the lore for all of the villains in the game. And my comment section has been flooded with complaints about Games Workshop's handling of this, and so I wanted to address it. That there are elements of this that are 1,000%. Like the problem is, I'm going to say a solid 70% of Games Workshop's inability to communicate lately. The remainder is the community, I guess, kind of groupthink or hyping each other up for the negativity regarding the release of like. How many of the people complaining about Cursed City legitimately wanted it versus how many people are always looking for a reason to complain about Games Workshop? Both are true. You know what I mean? Like those people both exist, that they will complain about it even if they didn't really want it. And so I wanted to address the problems with the company, first of all. Games Workshop, get good. Step up, because other companies are doing things better than you. But then also address the fact that as a community, we need to be better than this. Like honestly, hey Games Workshop, here's your friend Doug giving you a lifeline. Release it all online for free, and then set up a one-click buy bundle where people can get the models they need for this new version. Because the new version would theoretically have to have different sprues because the Cursed City stuff was limited, as we now know. But, recreating the game with existing models from the Gravelords line, and then just having a one-click bundle for it, plus a free download. There you go. But anyway, the way I wanted to end this video was simply to say, be good to one another. Like honestly, I love the Age of Sigmar community. It's the reason why, even though there are times when I feel and experience burnout when it comes to writing these scripts for videos and that kind of stuff, the truth is, like, it's always a labor of love. I always feel good afterwards because the second I go into the comment section, people are nice and they're helping each other and they're helping answer each other's questions. And it's just a very excited, positive community. And I think that Cursed City, at a certain level, it's not even about the game anymore. It's just a great example of the fact that Games Workshop's going backwards, as I've said multiple times now. But that doesn't mean we have to. We don't have to be this community of people who are negative and grouchy about everything and complain and spam, meme complaints about stuff. It's like we could be better than that. And so that's what I wanted to hear in the channel. So here's what I'm going to do going forward. I am going to do the lore for the good guys in Cursed City, not because I support the product or the company's handling of it, but because somebody wrote really cool background story for a particular location in the Mortal Realms, and there's no reason that person should have to suffer because, or their work be ignored or deleted from, I guess canon. I don't know. I don't really care about canon stuff. But you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason that person or the artists who made these incredible pieces of art, I want to showcase it all. So I'm going to keep talking about Cursed City just until I finish up my lore series on it. But after that, we just need to email GW and be like, you need to change. You need to change completely. So friends, be kind to one another. Be patient. You know what I mean? Express your concerns, vote with your dollar, and go check out other companies. If you truly can't get behind Games Workshop, I'm not just telling you like, if you don't like it, get out. What I'm saying is you have the ability every time you make a purchase to vote with your dollar. And there are companies out there who take an immense amount of player feedback, and they engage with the community in other ways that Games Workshop doesn't do quite yet. And so just find something that makes you happy. If you're not happy here, that's the saddest fate of all, right? Because this is meant to be a hobby. And even if you like the hobby capital H, like miniature wargaming, there are ways to find joy outside of Games Workshop, no matter how much you cherish it. So go find those. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Thank you all so much for watching this video and following on the channel. I really do hope that you enjoy it. This is a place intended to be for positive, constructive conversation. And like I said, 99.9% of my comments in the videos are wonderful, helpful people who just love to share their passion. So please be like us. Thank you so much for watching, and happy wargaming.